went to Cobb County Jail today with a friend to visit a friend, and when we were sitting in there, everybody, peace and quiet, everyone just wants to go visit somebody. The next thing we hear this loud sound outside coming from, I guess, the jail area where the people park in the back, and it turns out there's this blue car that like jumped the median piece or whatever and just messed up her tire. It was a blue car. She messed up her tire and there was smoke coming from it, and it was just really odd. The car was sideways, and so the woman gets out of the car and she takes the woman just opens the door, gets out of the car. She's not screaming, yelling or anything, and she takes maybe 1 or 2 steps forward, just looks, and then she realizes she's screwed for whatever she did, and then she takes a few steps back because there was one officer running towards her at the time, and so the one officer that was running towards her, he didn't have his gun out at the time or anything. He was just walking slowly towards her because I guess he just got done chasing her. And so pretty much when he started, I guess maybe 15 feet from her, that's when he decided to pull his gun, and he got in front of her, and that's when he took her down. And so when he took her down, that's when the mob of cops came. Pretty much, the main story is I was filming on the inside. As soon as I realized what was going on, I was filming on the inside, and I had it on footage on my phone of when she first started getting out of the car, when the first cop was coming, and then when I realized when you could hear the sirens coming from all directions, I immediately ran outside, and I ran out there, and it's not like I was running towards the car. I mean, I was going that general direction, but there was a fence blocking of course the road from the jail, and I started just crouching down. I wanted to get a good video of it. I wasn't yelling, cussing at them. I was being completely quiet. And I was out there and I was taking this video, and the video was 1 minute and 40 something seconds long, and I mean, which is a good amount of time. And I was taking this video, and it was showing that all the cops were there, and then there's this one black officer or whatever. He decided to put his foot on her head and all this stuff, and he was just doing it multiple times, if her head was right there. And then I was just so I took my camera a little bit after that, and I moved my camera over just to show how many cops were there, what was going on. It was a swarm, complete blockade. And then pretty much after that, they told me, one officer that was subduing her was hey, stop filming. And I was no, I have a right to do this, and you can hear me say that. And then he said it the second time, and then I said, no, I have the right to do this. And then that's when they're hey, go get him. And then they sent 2 officers over, and they were walking around the fence, sprinting or whatever, trying to come get me to go away or whatever, or I don't know what they were going to do. And so I started going back. I was all right, and you could see me in the camera. I was all right, man, I'm going back, and you could see me walking back. And so I didn't even know the full situation. So I get back to the corner of the building. I'm way further than what I even was, and I turn around with the camera just to get the final shot and be okay, this is pretty much it. I'm done filming. And when I directly in front of me with the camera, there was a cop standing right there with a pistol aimed at me, and it freaked me out. And the first thing I said was dude, it's a fucking camera, chill out. And it just escalated from there. And I don't understand why he had the camera pointed at, not the camera, why I don't understand why he had the gun pointed at me, because I'm in a cast, I'm with the phone, I'm not a threat, obviously, and I just don't get it, because there was a fence separating me from everything. There's a security fence, and so I didn't see what the big deal was. And so he was saying, get the fuck away, or inside, whatever. Just it was rude, it was unnecessary. And so pretty much so I go inside and everything. I'm okay, well, I'm going to go back to that. When I noticed that the cop was pointing the gun at me, like I said, it's a fucking camera, dude, chill out. And so when I turned to my left, there was I spoke to her, and I found her age. There was an 18-year-old a white girl in there, and she had her younger nephew, who was probably maybe 5 or 6 years old. They were standing there right beside me, and when I was walking back, the cop still had his gun pointing directly at me, and these people right here beside me.
I was visiting a friend, and I saw outside there was a lot of commotion, and I started taking a couple photos because I didn't know, it looked like a bad situation. They put her in another squad car, and I guess they took her in, but at the same time, a police officer pulled a gun on a civilian, and I don't know what they did to him afterwards, but it seemed like they pulled him to the back, and that's all I know.
And why did the officer point the gun at the civilian?
Because he was reporting the commotion. He was walking towards the scene, and he was reporting the situation, and knowledge, the police officer was trying to get him to stop, and he put his hands up and he surrendered. I do have one photograph where you see him walking towards the civilian, and I have another one where you see him, but he's almost directly behind a tree, so you can see where it's his silhouette behind the tree, holding the gun towards the civilian, but you can't see the civilian actually.
The captain, this black captain, he comes down, and when he comes down, he was just like, hey, come over here. So he was like, I'm gonna need to see your phone. And I also had a gentleman who kept telling me, don't let them see don't give them the phone, don't do any of this. And he was like an Indian male and whatnot. He kept staying with me the whole time to make sure I was okay. He's like, don't give them nothing and all this stuff. And so I told him, he was like, give me the phone. I was like, well, from what I've heard and from what I've heard in the past and from what I think I know pretty much, that I have the right to refuse that. And he's like, do you know where you are? He's like, do you want to go to jail, or are you gonna let me see the phone or whatnot? And then that's when then I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And so pretty much he was like, look, I just want to see the footage. I don't want to take your phone or nothing like that. And so he never took my phone. The black captain guy never took my phone. I was sitting there right there with him. I felt perfectly fine showing him the video. I had nothing to hide. I had nothing. I mean, I was showing the video to anybody if they wanted to see it. And so I'm showing him the video and whatnot. And then he sees the whole entire video, and he's like, oh, so you didn't actually get the video footage of when she first got in the car and wrecked it? And I was like, no, I literally started filming right after she wrecked her car and got out of it, when the tires and stuff were smoking. And he was like, oh, okay, well, he's like, you're free to go. I mean, just go on. And so I was like, all right, cool. So anyways, the other investigator, the white investigator I've been talking about, he came back out. So we started going through my phone. He's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna play your video, and then I'm gonna copy it with my phone. And so he tried it a few times, it didn't work, and so he did my brightness and all that stuff again. After that, he got the full-on video, the thing recorded and whatnot, and so he gets the video and everything. And so I asked him, so I'm not in any legal trouble and whatever, and he's like, no and whatnot. So I was like, okay, so there's not gonna be a big problem if I post it on YouTube or contact the news and all that stuff. And he was like, well, and he mentioned, he's like, well, and kind of in that sly way, he was just like, there was an officer involved, so you could get in trouble. I mean, he's like, don't post it and all this stuff. And he was just explaining about how that could screw me over, and that was pretty much it. So I'm literally walking out the door, and I'm clicking on my video, and I'm on the video icon, and there's no video icon, there's no video there. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's in my pictures, something else. So I clicked on my pictures, the file is not there at all whatsoever, and it was insane. And so, because they were questioning everyone with the phone. That's another thing. It wasn't just me. Anyone that they thought that even had a phone, they were up in there like, oh, did you have a phone? Or we know you had a phone. And it has to be in his report, because so many people saw it. If he lies and says that was not his report, and let me know now, the visitation records cannot lie. All the squad cars there definitely come at every angle. A lot of the squad cars had to see me when they were coming in and whatnot, and then cops that do have the cameras on their uniforms and all that definitely had to see me. And that's the thing, it's the Cobb County Jail. They're not broke. They have cameras everywhere, all over the place to see everything. There's cameras in the intake room it has to show everybody going in awe, taking the video and whatnot. And I was the only one, I think, that was pretty much really harassed about the video. And like I said, if they try to say there's no video footage of it, they're full of shit. And if that's the case, then they really need to be investigated.